Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be covering a very interesting topic from the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the Victorian fear of scientific discovery and substance abuse. I'm going to be connecting the original novel, the 1912 film, and Giveon's 2020 song, Heartbreak Anniversary. Now, even though all of these sources are from different time periods, they all still explore the same fear. Now, this fear is how you can lose control, whether through science, drugs, or emotion, can cause someone to lose their own identity. Now, let's get started. Now, before I get into all three sources, we have to first understand why were the Victorians so terrified. So, let's get straight into it. So first, we have to understand that in the late 1800s, science was advancing incredibly fast. Experiments, new chemicals, early psychology, and even the beginning of addiction studies, but people didn't trust it just yet. Many feared that these new discoveries could mess with the natural order of life, weaken moral values, and create dangers no one could ever predict. Now, Victorians were especially afraid of anything that could split or expose someone's true self. They believed people should appear respectable, controlled, and proper. So the idea that a potion or a drug could reveal the darker side of a person was terrifying. It was like a fear of losing the mask that society forced people to wear. That fear is exactly what Stephen built his entire novel of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Hyde around. One of the most revealing quotes from the novel is, "Man is not truly one, but truly two." This sign shows that Dr. Jekyll believes that science can separate the polite, respectable Victorian identity from the hidden, violent one. Now, him taking that potion isn't just a scientific experiment. It's a physical representation of the Victorian fear and anxiety behind drugs, substance abuse, and scientific discovery. The idea that a scientist can just take a substance or a potion to become completely unrecognizable was terrifying to the Victorians. It echoed real fears about real drug use like opium or early tonics that they completely didn't even understand. In the novel, as Dr. Jekyll drinks more potions, he becomes more and more unstable. He becomes like an addict, and he loses his self-identity and his morality. So, the novel is not just about good and evil, but it's also a warning to Victorian society that trying to control human nature through science and substances can destroy someone's self-identity. The 1912 silent film builds this fear visually. Since the film has no dialogue, the horror is shown entirely through Jekyll's transformation. His back hunches, his eyes widen, his movements get frantic and animal-like. His hair also gets wild and his face twists into something barely human. To a Victorian viewer or even someone in 1912, this would have made their fear even more intense. The film exaggerates what the Victorians already believed, that once you start experimenting with dangerous substances or push science too far, you can't stop the darker side from taking over. The transformation looks violent and sudden, like what Victorians believed happened to people addicted to chemical tonics, alcohol, or opium. The silent film basically shows their fear happening before their eyes, one drink, one bad decision, and the respectable gentleman they work so hard to appear as completely collapses.
Even though Giveon's song Heartbreak Anniversary is from 2020 and deals with emotional pain, it still connects to that old Victorian fear in a modern way. The one line that says, "Because I remember every detail." This lyric expresses the idea of being unable to escape something inside of you, being controlled by emotion the same way Jekyll was controlled by his darker self in the drugs. The Victorians feared losing control through substance and drugs, while in today's age, people can still lose control through overwhelming emotions, trauma, or past memories and experiences. Both Jekyll and Giveon were trapped by something internal. While Jekyll was trapped by his darker self and drugs, Giveon was trapped by heartbreak and the emotional pain that keeps you surfacing. Even though the causes are different, the fear is still the same. What happens when you can't control the forces within you, and they start shaping your behavior? It's a modern version of the Victorian anxiety, the fear that identity isn't stable, and something hidden inside a person can officially take over. Now, let's get into what all three of these sources reveal about Victorian fears. Well, when you put all three sources together, you can see how this fear travels throughout time. The Victorians were scared that science and drugs would reveal a darker side of a person. This can be seen in the novel, where Jekyll uses science to split himself and becomes addicted to his identity of Hyde. While in the silent film, it visually dramatizes how quickly he can collapse and turn into Mr. Hyde and become a complete disaster. You can see a similar fear in Giveon's modern song, Heartbreak Anniversary. This shows that losing control of yourself emotionally or mentally is still a fear that people have today, which kind of links up to how losing your identity through drugs or science was a Victorian fear. Even though Giveon was not dealing with a potion, but was dealing with a force inside him and a heartbreak that he couldn't escape, he was just like Jekyll. This parallel shows that Victorian fears weren't just about science, but they're also about the fragile nature of human identity. Across time, the fear remains. Humans worry that once something inside them, whether science, drugs, emotion, or trauma, takes over, they might not be able to get themselves back. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps show Victorian fears about science and self-control and how they connect not just through literature and film, but also through modern media and music. Even though our world is super different from theirs, the fear of losing our identity to something inside of us still hits just as hard today. Thanks again for watching, and see you on the next one.